Welcome to the Downtown, brought to you by Arlington Citizen Media. I am Daryl Smith Jr., and to my left is...
I am Rody John, and across from me is...
Amy.
In today's show, we talk to Wesley from Colorguards RPG about Dungeons & Dragons, inclusivity, and how to start in tabletop gaming. We make another stop on the Arlington Citizen Media Tournament of Toppings at one of my personal favorites, Old School Pizza Tavern.
What?
And we sit down with Tamera Miller from the Arlington Public Library to discuss ArlingCon and all the rad things that will be there.
Get your costumes out.
I'm going to wear
mine.
one. What are you going to be?
I'm going to be Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
The winemaker?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Are you going to wear a skull cap?
Yes.
What are you going to be, Rody?
I might wear a lucha mask if I can find one that hides my beard.
Or one that accentuates your beard.
Well, that's what yes.
I will be there dressed as Spider-Man running for president.
Who's Spider-Man?
Phil Spider-Man is running for president, and he'd like your vote.
Get in that web.
We are here with Wesley with Colorguards RPG. Thank you for coming, and welcome to the show.
Thank you all so much for having me out today.
Absolutely. So I guess first and foremost, how many people are in the group, and how did y'all come together?
Great. So we have myself and 5 players on the show, part of the main cast, I guess you would say. And then we have a team of about 4 kind of like crew and technicians kind of helping us in the behind the scenes.
I guess we should have. The first question should have been, tell us about Colorguards.
Yeah, what is
RPG.
it? What are you doing?
Don't edit it. We'll make it sound like that was the first question.
Of course, not a problem. So, Colorguards RPG is a Dungeons & Dragons live stream show featuring an all LGBTQ plus cast and crew of adventurers and storytellers trying to make a inclusive gaming community here in Arlington and online.
That sounds awesome. And where does it stream at?
It actually streams live from my home.
Nice.
Where could people watch it if they were to...
Great. We actually stream live to twitch.tv/colorguards.
Okay.
And we also are currently in the process of uploading all of our previous episodes up to a YouTube channel on Colorguards RPG.
What edition are you guys playing?
We are playing 5th edition.
Okay.
To me, it is one of the best editions for new players to get into, and that was something that I was very passionate about, was that in my idea, RPGs can and should be for anybody and everybody, and everybody can find something about them to kind of latch onto and really enjoy and be passionate about. And 5th edition to me is the easiest kind of like breakaway. It's the easiest barrier of entry into RPG systems in my mind.
Right.
What is the thing that you like best about doing the show?
I love being able to tell our stories and being able to give representation for the LGBTQ plus community. There are a ton of big names out there right now, both directly involved with Dungeons & Dragons and on the online RPG streaming community, that are representative of us, but I wanted to give something local. I wanted to give something that our local communities could actually look at and be like, that's us represented. Yeah. I really wanted to push for inclusion versus diversity. I feel like diversity is just checking the box that, like, we have an LGBTQ show. Great, awesome.
Nailed it.
Versus inclusion, which is like everybody gets a spot at the table and everybody is heard and understood and proud of their spot at the table, as opposed to just like, great, we got one of you and one of you and one of you, check marks.
So what kind of reception have you gotten from people?
It's been really, really passionate and really exciting. We've had people who have never played before. One of my players is a dear friend of mine who has never played a game of Dungeons & Dragons in her entire life. And when I initially pitched this idea back in October, she immediately was just completely blown away and was like, I'm going to be a part of this. Like, nice. I just want you to understand that, like, you are going to have to figure out the other people because I'm going to be one of them.
Because I'm one.
and all the rest of the online community has been really, really passionate and proud of us and really excited to see more of what we can do. We're continuing to find ways that we can kind of reach out and branch out to other communities and other online avenues to be able to just kind of, like I said, break down that barrier of entry into the into the hobby, into the passion of it.
Because it's steep sometimes. It can
Right.
be.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's over 40 years old. A lot of people think that there's so much of that you have to get into, or they watch these big time shows like Critical Role, for instance, that have these big elaborate setups and all of this technical and performative aspect to it. And at the end of the day, it can just be you and your friends sitting around a table with a piece of paper and Doritos as your
That's exactly
characters,
what we did,
like whenever you need them. And to me, being able to kind of like show people that we can play these games and these games can tell our stories, I think has really resonated with a lot of people.
Now, what is your role in the game?
So I am the dungeon master.
And let's say some people, like myself, have never played D&D. What exactly is a dungeon master?
Great. So the dungeon master is kind of the facilitator and main storyteller of it. They will create setups and create the world around you, and the players themselves will kind of act in a collaborative storyteller manner, being able to kind of make their choices and their changes within the world. And then the dungeon master, of course, would be the person to be like, well, you did that, and that's a choice, and now there's going to be some consequences. So now we'll kind of see how that works.
Right.
And there sometimes one of the biggest barriers of entry that I find with a lot of people who are nervous about playing Dungeons and Dragons for the first time is there's a lot of stigma behind the dungeon master being versus the players, where it seems like they're the enemy and the players have to beat him, or he has to try to kill the players. And it becomes this very antagonistic response between what should be a like full table collaborative effort. The dungeon master should want to see the players succeed. They want to challenge them, of course, and they want to make sure that those consequences are actually felt for their actions. But at the same time, if I kill your character, then you don't get to play the game for like another session until you make a new character.
Right.
So now I've just ruined your fun for like 2 hours. And yeah, I did it. That's not fun. It's not fun for anybody. And yes, those things happen, but it shouldn't be the goal of the game.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not trying to zero one person out to get away.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
If someone wanted to start learning how to play D&D, like where would you direct?
Perfect. There are a ton of resources out there right now. This is kind of like the golden era of kind of like breaking open and expanding the market for players who can play. One of my absolute favorite things can actually be found right here at the Arlington Public Library. They actually have all of the resources and books available to check out and learn the game. I don't know if the Arlington Public Library does it right now, but I do know that there are a number of libraries across the country that actually have games being played at the library themselves. There are, of course, local game stores in your area that host Dungeons and Dragons nights, and those are always open for new players and a really great resource for it. There's the starter set that comes out that is kind of like its own little 3-level adventure in a box that teaches you all of the rules and everything. There is an absurd amount of content out there to be able to kind of like help explain it to you. And one of the easiest ways that I tell people is just play it. Just have somebody make you a character, sit down at a table, and just go. Don't worry about the mechanics of it. That's another role that the Dungeon Master will do. They'll help facilitate the mechanics of the game and tell you when to roll a die. But for the most part, just get in and just be the character. Make a character that's pretty similar to you, and then just react to the surroundings and the obstacles as you would react to them.
That's great. Do you find that Dungeons and Dragons is inherently inclusive because it requires imagination and patience to play?
One would think so. The idea of inclusion in Dungeons and Dragons is actually fairly recent. There is a lot of stigma and background regarding it being non-inclusive. A lot of the monsters and the characters in the game, similar to classic fantasy stories, are originally designed around very derogatory or negative stereotypes. And it's very recently that everybody has been kind of really rallying together and pushing for changing that narrative and being able to change those types of stories. We're starting to see more LGBTQ representation in fantasy stories. We're starting to see more a varied racial representation in stories. Not everybody has to be a white Eurocentrist character in order to be a human or anything like that. Or just because they are not a white Eurocentrist human doesn't mean that they now are a completely different race of human beings. It's finding ways to be able to showcase our world as much as all of the other worlds that the game is played in a truly inclusive manner.
Now, with the popularity of Dungeons & Dragons popping up in, like, Stranger Things and shows like Harmon Quest, were you guys a little inspired by this, or where did the idea to broadcast it live
those have definitely inspired me as a creator. We've seen a lot of representation for Dungeons & Dragons in mainstream pop culture in the last 5 years or so, and it's really kind of hit its stride. More and more shows, like you said, like Harmon Quest, things like that, Adventure Zone, all these different types of podcasts and live shows, things like that, are becoming more prevalent. And looking at it, yes, there were members of the LGBTQ plus community amongst all of these, but there wasn't something that was kind of like inherently ours, I would want to say. And that was kind of what inspired me, was looking at all of these and being like, it was the idea of making your own representation. Like, if you don't see yourself amongst these things, do it.
Be that person.
And that kind of really resonated and inspired me. It all kind of came about because a regular content creator that I follow, who he himself is also a queer man, had reached out on Twitter one day and was like, hey, people have been asking me about advice for starting up their own shows. If you yourself are also a queer man and are interested in doing so, hit me up. That turned into a 30-something email chain of me asking him all sorts of questions. And lo and behold, here I am today, a content creator for Dungeons & Dragons on the internet.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a great story. And a really, really great, like, just do it. Like, be that person that goes out there and does it. I love it.
It was a lot of fun, and everybody involved has really rallied behind that, and has really wanted to make themselves and their stories known and present within this kind of genre.
Great. Well, awesome. Is there anything else that you want to plug? Do you have podcast, website?
Yeah, we stream every Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/Colorguards, as I said earlier. We are also uploading all of our previous episodes on YouTube under Colorguards RPG. You can also check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and pretty here soon we're going to be setting up a Facebook page as well to get everybody in the know and continue to follow along with us. Right now we are only streaming the one show, however, coming up soon because we want to continue expanding and doing this kind of like breaking the barriers type of content. Coming up here soon, we're going to be doing our own DIY show revolving around creating sets and props and painting minis for it. Because a lot of people think that it can be this big, expensive manner, but we've already been building a lot of things out of recycled materials and stuff that you can actually find from your hardware store. Cool. So you don't even have to like have a novelty craft store near you. You can actually just walk into a Home Depot or a Lowe's and grab some stuff and start making these beautiful set pieces and props. And then we've started doing a little bit of kind of like behind the scenes or kind of like informational videos to be able to kind of further break that barrier and explain to you Dungeons & Dragons or explain to you our game that actually plays during the break of every episode. So we're continuing to expand on those videos as well.
Great.
Cool.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I'm excited to see those other ones too. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm sure we'll have you back at some point.
Definitely. Thank y'all so much for having me. This has been really, really exciting.